Once again, we have Matt Struthers for the Crop Report today. He's the Crop Extension Specialist for the Government of Saskatchewan in the Ministry of Agriculture. So thank you so much for being with us today once again, Matt.
Well, thanks for having me back. It's always nice to be on.
And so, Matt, seeding has been progressing quite well throughout the month of May, and looking at the report, it's gone up quite a bit. So what is that outlook for the Government of Saskatchewan so far with how well seeding has progressed this month?
This past week has been excellent for producers. Weather-wise, they had some nice, warm, kind of windy days. Kind of cool on some parts of the province, but very, very good for seeding. And so we saw a lot of progress being made up in the northern regions, and then down into the west central and southwest as well. The east central and southeast are coming along quite nicely. They're the farthest behind, just due with that excess moisture that they've been dealing with. But overall, things are looking really good. We got 68% of the crop in the ground, just about. It's just behind the 5-year average of 76%, so not a huge deal. Still a lot of work left to be done, but producers out there are going to be pushing very, very hard to get that seed in the ground over the next couple weeks.
And so here in Lloydminster, in the Northwest region, we are the furthest ahead in seeding so far, according to the Crop Report. And so tell me a little bit about how impressive that is for the Northwest to be so far ahead in seeding, as that's not typical. And as well, tell me, there is a little bit of a lack of moisture around here. Is that a worry so far for you in terms of the Northwest region?
Yeah, I would say it's rare, maybe, or in the last couple of years that I've been doing the report, we haven't seen the Northwest take the front seat and hold on to it all season long. In the aspect of seeding, so they're doing really well. I know they have 84% of their crop in the ground, so they're going to be wrapping up here in the next week or so, maybe a week and a half. Lots of producers up in that region have finished up. So in this past week we did get some rainfall in that region, and that's very, very good. Good for the pastures, but also good for those emerging crops as well. So what I would like to see now that 84% of the crops in the ground, I'd like to see a good soaking rain hit that region. I know it's getting dry up there. A lot of producers are a little anxious about how dry it is. So a good soaking rain that really, really help crops emerge and germinate and emerge, and then also help those already emerged crops as well as those pastures. So looking really good. The outlook, it's always tough to rub the crystal ball and find out what's going on. But I think everybody's pretty optimistic. I know in that, especially in that region, things started out dry, but it just takes a couple good rains. There's some good soil up there. And hopefully that'll be able to tide the crop over and into the hotter months, and then hopefully we get those rainfall events in July, especially to carry us into August, and then hopefully we have a good harvest. But those are that's weeks away and months away, so we'll just have to keep checking on it.
And so we talked to Mackenzie a little bit about this last week, about how early people need to get their seed in order to make sure that they can get crop insurance. Tell me, is that there are some differences in terms of which crops and how late they can go in? Tell me a little bit about that and the dates that producers need to know about in terms of if they want to get crop insurance for their crops.
So it all comes down to the crop that they're seeding. I think the latest one, or the latest date that comes to mind, is June 20th. After that, it's you can't insure those crops. You just cause issues for yourself down the road, and they just won't allow that to be done, or won't allow that to be insured. Of course, you can still seed, you can do what you want, but it just won't be insurable. And yeah, that's done because if you're seeding in let's say up in your area in Northwest, and you're seeding June 20th, that's not a lot of time for that crop to get up out of the ground, mature, and then ripen before the fall kicks around. It's a pretty short season up there, and so that's where it's kind of nice to see that those producers are getting ahead of that that 5-year average in that region, and they're getting a lot of seed in the ground, and maybe they'll have a bit of a different season than they're typically seeing in the last couple of years. So about June 20th is the date that comes to mind when it comes to the last date. But again, that also comes down to your region and also what crops you're looking at putting in the ground. So I'd recommend any producer who's maybe struggling to get seed in the ground is to double check that with their crop insurance agent, and work together to get that done. And hopefully the producers in the southeast and east central who are struggling with that excess moisture, they might just have to bite the bullet and seed around those wet areas. I know they're waiting for a lot of areas to dry up to obviously increase as many acreage or their acreage as much as possible, but they might just have to seed around it and wait for those wet areas to dry up in following years.
Thank you so much for the crop report once again, Matt, and we will be talking to either you or Mackenzie very soon.
Thank you very much. Take care.